Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson, and we want everybody here at Invisible Condition, everybody to know that happens to have an invisible condition. We want you to know that you always have a voice, you have a community, and you are never, ever, ever alone. Now, here on Invisible Condition, we also know that life can be tough sometimes. It can be. I'm not gonna lie. 7 brain surgeries in, man. I get it. It can be interesting. We also know that there is always hope. Always, always hope. That's where we live around here. That's where we operate. We operate in a world of hope. Join us, will you? It's kind of cool here. So I want to just talk about a couple things before we bring our guest on. One thing. Our nonprofit, Hydro with Hope, is that is our nonprofit arm of Invisible Condition, and we have a lot to do. Hydro with Hope is there to help people, that is families and individuals that are living with a condition called hydrocephalus, and that is the condition I was born with, and it has been quite the roller coaster ride over the years, and it can be really crazy because hydrocephalus almost always requires repeated brain surgery, and pretty frequent brain surgery for some. And it can be kind of crazy. I've had 4 brain surgeries in the last 12 years, right? It can turn your world upside down. At Hydro with Hope, we want to help you. We have tangible resources. We have people that you can talk to. We have, things that I like to go out and speak and just spread hope, man, because your life is not over because of brain surgery. It might just be beginning. And so we want to bring that hope to everybody that we can. And so the thing is, we have more to do than we have funds to do it. And so I am expanding our board of directors right now for the nonprofit. And we're looking for people to donate, and we have a couple unique ways to do that. So if you are interested in learning more about that, please reach out to me at InvisibleCondition@e360tv.com. And we can talk about it. At the same time, we are also a TV show, and you will see throughout the episode, there are commercials, there are advertisements. If you own a business or a company or an organization that loves what we're doing and wants to get the word out to our amazing audience, I would love to talk to you about that. So same thing, drop me a line, drop me an email, let's chat. So, all right, now back to the fun stuff. Let's bring on our guest. Actually, let's tell you about her first. It is, Nikki Smith is my guest today, and you're going to love Nikki. She's awesome. She has spent countless hours researching, studying, embracing the process of death and dying with compassion, which is huge, because when you're in those final days like that, that's a big deal. Nikki is now a death doula, a grief coach, and serving the terminally ill, dying elderly and their loved ones, of course, with dignity and respect, because it's not just, everybody's involved, not just the person, at the end of life, it's their whole family. So Nikki's goal is to help others embrace the end of life and share openly and honestly, and with honest communication with their loved ones, and do it right, do this end of life stuff right. So, all right, let's bring her on and see what the heck is going on. Nikki, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
I know everybody out there doesn't know this, but I just 2 days ago I was just recording her show with her, and now she's here with me. So it's been kind of fun. So I say long time no see, but it's it's really not
48 hours or so.
Right. Right, which was an awesome experience, by the way. If anybody wants to, we'll put her, in fact, here, we'll put her QR code up on us in a second, and you can contact her if you know anybody that might want to be on her show too. So, okay, so I have one thing that I want to ask everybody. I ask everybody the same question at the beginning of the show. There's no wrong answer. It's always awesome. On the tough days, and I know you've had some, everybody's had some. On those tough days, how do you still maintain hope?
Ooh, that's a great question. So it really depends on just how tough and what the tough is. But overall, um, the biggest comfort I have is a nice nap and a snuggle with my cat or my husband. And just those things remind me that I'm alive and then remind me that I'm loved and that I'm safe. And
Nice.
anytime I feel alive, loved, and safe, I can continue to have hope.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's perfect. See, I love that answer. That's good. Yeah. Because there's no, I mean, really, if you lose hope, if you don't have hope, you're almost dead in the water already. You know,
Yeah.
it's like you've got to have some sort of semblance of hope. So that's beautiful. Now, anybody, I'm going to put Nikki's QR code up here in a second, but for those of you who are watching on Facebook or YouTube, I mean, there's all kinds of places you could be watching from. If you're watching from one of those two, you have the option to comment on that platform during the show. And if you have a question throughout the show, if Nikki says something, it's like light bulb, and it sparks something, please put a comment in there, put a question in there, put something in there, and one of us will reach out to you and get her in touch with you.
Yeah.
And the other way is right there. Her QR code, which will go to her website, and tell people what they will find on the website.
Yeah, so you can find me, obviously, and there are ways you can schedule an introductory call with me right off the bat. I've got a list of the services I provide, a little bit of information about what death doulas are, what we do, upcoming events that I have locally in the Columbus, Ohio area, or virtually online on Zoom. There's also a whole page dedicated to my podcast where you can get a link to the podcast. I have resources from the people I've had on my show. I should probably say the podcast is Good Grief with Nikki the Death Doula. So if they have books they've written or websites or information, some of that will be on there on the tab that says podcast. I also have a whole page full of resources. If you just need some help with resources for end-of-life care, books you might want to read, options for body disposition. I have so much on there and I'm building it all the time. So
awesome. Yeah. And by the way, she's an amazing host. If anybody wants to do a podcast recording and it's applicable, she's awesome. So it's a really fun experience to be on her show. So definitely check it out. So it was really fun.
Thank you.
So all right, let's address the elephant in the room. What the heck is a death doula?
I was waiting. I talk all the time about what I do, so I'm used to answering this question at this point.
Yeah.
But the most succinct way I can describe it is we provide non-medical holistic support for the dying and their loved ones and help them navigate end of life. That's my little one sentence version. I gave a presentation earlier today and 45 minutes or so, and I barely scratched the surface of everything I do. So we do a lot, but we're not hospice. We're not nurses. We're not social workers. We're not chaplains, but we are going to be there to companion you through your journey at end of life, wherever you are in that space. Even if it's just at diagnosis. I've worked with people who are not necessarily dying, but have chronic disease or chronic illnesses that are affecting their life and their livelihood. And help them create the end of life experience that they want to the best of my ability.
Nice. That's awesome. It's kind of like when you say death doula, that reminds me of like a home birthing type of thing, right? So if anybody knows, right, it's kind of along the same line. A doula is not a midwife. They're not the ones that are going to, do all the things that a midwife does. They're also not just a birth assistant that's there for your emotional well-being or whatever, solely just for that. They have a function, and it's right in there, and it's very important. So
I think there's a misconception that we're the person that just comes and holds your hands as you're dying, and that is something we can do. That's very little of it. There's so much more to it.
Oh man, there is. I've only ever known one other person that does anything close to that, and it was listening to her talk about people that she's helped and families she's worked with, and so it just blew my mind. So we'll get into that. I'm sure we'll get all that out there and make sure everybody knows what's going on. So of course the next obvious question is, why are you a death doula?
Why am I not?
What inspires somebody to go down that road?
Yeah. So there's no like one pivotal moment in my life that was like, oh, that's what I need to do. But looking back, there are a lot of things that put me on this path to where I am now. I went to school for theater.
Hey,
Yeah, my degree is in theater, and I worked at managing a theater company for a while, and then I worked in IT for about 16 years or so. So it was not a
yeah,
direct path here, but
well,
I've always had a heart and a passion for people who are at end of life and the elderly, and I've worked in those capacities in volunteer work, hospice, nursing homes. I volunteered at the suicide hotline for a few years, and I've always just had that heart space for these things, but it was never something I did as a job, more or less. And during COVID, like everybody else, I was at home and I'm like, wow, I'm not happy. I want to do something more fulfilling. And I had also suffered a couple significant losses even prior to COVID. One of my best friends died of an overdose. My
mm,
brother died unexpectedly a couple years
mm,
later. My mother-in-law died. That's like a lot of
wow.
losses. And all of those were sudden, but I started getting more understanding around the death and dying process, and just recognized that it was not something I was uncomfortable. I was not uncomfortable being in those spaces
Yeah.
and uncomfortable being around that level of vulnerability.
Wow.
So I decided to take one of the trainings available, and immediately I knew that this was my calling. So
Nice.
here I am.
I mean, hey, everybody has some sort of colorful aspect to their resume, like everybody, I've done, I've done just about everything you can imagine in my profession before what I'm doing now with TV and the nonprofit and stuff. You would never guess. You would never guess that's what I did, because it's so out of the blue. So it sounds similar,
Yeah.
like this is what I did, and then I just landed here.
Well, if there's one thing I've learned in my work, it's life is, and this is so cliche, but life really is too short. I've worked with people who are in their 90s and they're like, this went by so fast. So who cares? Change your job 6 times.
Right.
Don't tell your mom I said that. But
I didn't hear a thing.
But yeah, if you're not happy, find something else. Life is too short to be unhappy for most of it.
I agree. And I finally in 2011 found something that I thought I was going to be doing forever, and it was so fun. And I'm kind of a warped, I don't know, maybe I have a warped sense of whatever, but I thought it was so fun. I was a private investigator, process server, and armed security for 12 years before I hosted this show. And I tell you what, it was a blast. But
That's
you
so
never
cool.
would have, if you'd have told me 6 months before that's what I've been doing, I would have laughed you out of the room, because you never know, where you're going to land. I just kind of fell into it and loved it and did it for 12 years. And then through some other crazy circumstances, that we won't get into here I am doing this. So you just never know what it's going to, but jump, man, take the leap. It's probably going to, you never know. So
do the thing.
Yeah, exactly. And do it quick. Don't sit there and like, oh, I don't know if this is a good idea. Let's research for 2 years and figure. No.
Yeah.
Jump. If it doesn't work, jump to the next thing.
I worked with a life coach when I was in this space with I know I'm not happy and I kind of want to do this thing. And she really pushed me, because I've always been that safe person. I operate in the safe space. And she was like, you need to get out of your comfort zone. So she really pushed me to take that dive. And I'm so glad I did.
I love that. That's so cool. Yeah, and I'm glad she did, because clearly you're loving it. So it's a good thing. So yeah, that's awesome. So I feel like this is the next question coming, is what are some of the misconceptions and the most misunderstood thing? You said that a lot of people are like, oh, you just hold somebody's hand when they're dying. What are some of the most misunderstood parts of what you do?
Oh, okay. So I could probably tell stories all day, but I think a lot of people have this vision in their head that we're gonna come in with like a sage stick and crystals and chanting or something.
Yeah.
And hey, I'm happy to do that. If that's your wish, I'm in. That's not what we do. And again, like I said earlier, they think we just come in to hold your hand as you're dying, which I've sat bedside with people, but 99% of my work is previous to that and after that, right?
Mhm.
So that's just a small fraction of what we do. I think a lot of people think we are a replacement for hospice too, which we are not at all. I don't do what
Mhm.
hospice does. I am not a nurse. I said I'm not a social worker, not a chap. I'm none of those things. I work with all of them
Mhm.
graciously, and we all work together. I'm just one part of a bigger team.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think those are probably the biggest misconceptions. We're all kind of a little woo-woo. Um, I
Yeah,
mean, I,
maybe.
I like a little bit of the woo. I dabble in the woo, but
Yeah. Me too. Me too. I that's a good way of saying it. I dabble in it.
yeah.
Yeah, I dabble in the woo.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think every now and then people assume that we're going to come in with our own, like, here's what we're going to do, and I never come in with any agenda or preconceived notion of how it's going to go, because you can't do that. Like, you can't
I mean,
schedule this, you can't plan it,
well, no, you
right?
can't schedule that. At the same time, people, especially if people don't know exactly what, I mean, this is a very unique industry. I'm not, right?
Yeah.
So people, if you leave it too much up to them, they almost feel like that would be almost like more overwhelm for them, right? So you
Yes.
must have a structure going in, like this is
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
we're going to talk about it. This is how we're going to, and you give them ideas and stuff, right? It's not like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I think people when people come to find me, it's because they're lost, and there's a
Right.
lot out. Like, you look at end of life, and like there's a million decisions to be made. There's a million possibilities for how things can go for however long you have left, and nobody knows what to even ask for, right? So
Yeah,
I'm not going to come
exactly.
and be like, well, what do you want? And then just sit there and wait for them to tell me. I can offer suggestions. I've got resources I can help people get connected
Yeah.
with if they need that. But yeah, it's a lot of conversations leading up to finding a plan. Like, I work with somebody for a long time and find out that, they've hosted card parties their whole life, right? Every Friday night was game night at their house. So, like,
Nice.
great. Let's see how we can incorporate this when you're in active dying. If that is a comfort to you, we can have people playing cards in the next room,
Right. Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Well, and maybe I'll save this for the next segment because
Okay.
I'm curious.
Okay.
That propped up a question in my mind, but just out of curiosity, yeah, I'll let's talk about that and then bring that up in the next segment. I'll
Okay.
ask the question because I'm painfully curious now, but I know I don't have time to ask the question right this minute, but because we're
Okay.
going to go to a break, but I am curious. So
Okay.
cliffhanger, everybody. You'll have to wait till the end of the break to hear what's rolling around in my brain. But
I'm curious too.
I mean, right? So sometimes I am too. Everybody stick around. Do not go anywhere. There is definitely more to this story, and we'll see you in just a couple of minutes. I'd love to talk to you a little bit about our sponsor, Dunamis Marriages. And now, struggling marriages often lead to a dramatic sense of disconnection from your spouse that can seem suffocating. Even if your marriage is doing pretty well, there is a way for you to thrive no matter what. Dunamis Marriages believes that God designed marriage to be a lifelong, heart-connected journey. And they're here to help you get there at Dunamis Marriages. Located in Colorado Springs, Colorado, their faith-based marriage intensive has an 83% success rate. I'm going to say that again. 83% success rate. Guiding couples through deep emotional healing and lasting transformation. Why is that important? Because most marriage counseling has a less than 10% success rate, leaving broken hearts and marriages in its wake. Led by Dr. Pauline Dillard, who brings over 42 years of marital wisdom, these marriage intensives are different. Typical marriage counseling is more of a once a week for an hour type of thing that can last for years and really end up getting you nowhere. The intensive model that Dr. Pauline uses brings couples together. Each session lasts about 2 to 3 hours and is conducted over 5 to 6 sessions. The time that you invest in a marriage intensive will combine biblical truth with proven psychological principles to restore communication, trust, and intimacy. At Dunamis Marriages, they don't just treat symptoms, they equip you with the tools to build a thriving, Christ-centered marriage. If you're ready to break free from frustration and rekindle your relationship God's way, act now. Visit DunamisMarriages.com today. That's DUNAMAS marriages.com. And take that first step toward a stronger, more fulfilling marriage. Build your marriage on a solid foundation and enjoy your spouse like you never thought possible.
Hey everybody, Craig Tominini here, founder and CEO of Ask Craig T, and I wanted to do a quick reminder about our podcast every Friday, 9 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. You can find us on YouTube and on all of our social media platforms, so be sure you tune in. Don't miss all the valuable information we're going to give you about how to scale your business using technology.
Hi, I'm Sarah Stockham, and I'm host of Simply Sarah. Join me Thursdays at 3 p.m. Pacific on the Achieve TV network for the best energetic tools to elevate your amazing life right here on E360 TV.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. And thank you, Nikki. Welcome back. I just want to throw this out there one more time. If you are watching at either of these platforms, if you've been here for the first segment, especially, and you probably, come on, let's be honest, you probably have questions. We're still getting through some of those. Throw it in the chat and we'll get back to you, or go to this QR code, and there are many places that you can engage there, and somewhere where you can actually reach out and get in touch with Nikki. So, okay. All right. I had a question that I was going to ask you, and I'm trying to remember exactly how I was going to ask you, and it fell out of my head, but I'll do my best to remember here. Okay. You were talking about different stuff. Right. So if people like familiar things, like end of life, like bring back familiar things to make them comfortable, right? Like if, like you brought up the card playing, right? That kind of thing. Yeah. Do you deal with a lot of folks with like dementia or Alzheimer's or anything? Is that part of your? I'm guessing you've had those folks that you've worked with. So yes, is that? I'm guessing that's the kind of thing where they go back to their childhood or go back to, right? Like that seems to be where it goes at end of life for that kind of stuff. What's the most interesting thing that that has come up with that? Like I know, like when my grandpa, by the way, he passed away at 90 about 7 years ago. And for the last 2 or 3 years, it just got progressively worse, with the dementia. And so toward the end there, he was talking about, his bedroom at his childhood home in Minnesota, and like, oh, well, let's, isn't, this person in my room right now or whatever, that kind of thing. And so it feels like that's common. Yeah. Is that, have you found that too? Like what's the most interesting thing you've done with somebody like that at a thing? Yeah.
It is common. It really, and I will just put the caveat on it, it really depends on the type of dementia and the type of Alzheimer's. Sure. And everybody responds to these diseases a little bit differently, but you are correct. A lot of times they will regress in their memory to their long-term memory. Mm-hmm. And I've only worked with a couple of people in that capacity, and there was nothing terribly surprising that came out of it. There was a lot of asking for their spouse who had passed away previous to that, asking for siblings that were no longer there. So many people ask for their mothers. And that's we talked about at the beginning birth doulas too, and how we have very similar types of work. And death is a labor. Death is very much a labor. You're laboring out of life, just like you're laboring into it. The biggest difference is when you are being born, regardless of the parameters of the family dynamics, there is somebody in that with you because you are being birthed by a
another person.
Right?
Yeah.
Somebody is birthing you into this world. So there's at least somebody on that journey with you. When you leave, like I will tell people, I will walk you up to that door. You have to walk through it on your own. You know, I can't walk through with you. So no matter who we are, no matter who's around us, we're walking through that alone. And there are so many people that want their mothers at that point. Because that's that comfort we've had for a good chunk of our life. Is like, my mother's still alive. She's still my mommy. You know, she will always be my mommy. She will never not be my mommy. And even when I'm sick with the flu, or I've had a couple really serious illnesses in my life, I wanted my mommy at that time. Right.
Of course. Yeah.
So I've absolutely seen people asking for their mother at their end of life, not realizing that their mothers have been gone for quite some time.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. It's some of that stuff is like, nobody really wants to talk about this in everyday chatter. You know, it's like, so this
I do, but
you do, but I mean, okay, but the majority of us,
most people don't.
I know. Yeah. You and I have that in common. We're both a little bit of a strange bird because we like to talk about very different things. That's what, for you, it's that. For me, it's other stuff. But yeah, everybody's unique in that way. But I tell you what, it's important though that's, it's important that you said that, because I hadn't even thought about that. It's true. You are by yourself. Nobody else can go with you. It's like there's never a trailer behind the hearse, right? You can't take anything with you, and you can't take anybody with you,
right?
For help. So it's how does that work? Like, do you have people that are? I mean, is that scary? That seems like that could be really terrifying for people. To maybe not. Maybe it's comforting at that point, But
of all the people I have worked with, I've had a couple that were definite. I mean, everybody's scared. Right. I mean, because I'm scared. I deal with this all the time. and I even said I'm comfortable being around these spaces, but I'm still scared of my own death to a degree. It's a different way of fearing it. I have more respect for it because I see it. But I've only had a couple people who genuinely had like some real anxieties around it, like getting close to the end. Most of the people I have worked with have had a terminal illness, and they're at that point where they're so tired, they're just ready, and they're very accepting of it, or they just have that level of comfort with the naturalness of our own mortality that it didn't scare them as much. But I have had a couple people that were very fearful up to active dying.
Yeah. I can imagine. And that friend of mine that I was telling you about that did something similar to what not quite, but similar. And she said she's definitely had a variety of experiences too. She's had people she literally had one person that took her last breath, breathed her last breath, and then all of a sudden like snapped back. And her theory was that she saw the other side and she didn't like what she saw. Like she was headed somewhere she didn't want to go.
Oh no.
You know what I'm saying? And because there's really only, in my estimation, there's really only two directions you can go, heaven or hell. And she was heading towards hell, and she didn't like it. And so she snapped out of it and was, and had that look on her face. And so she was able to be with her for those last few hours and kind of, and she had a second chance basically. And it was, crazy stuff like that. I heard stories from her about that. And it was just fascinating. Do you have anything that has ever happened like that? Like somebody that's had an experience like that? Or?
Yeah. So not that specifically, but there is a phenomenon that you'll hear a lot of different terms for. It's either terminal lucidity or rallying sometimes, where somebody who is has gotten into active dying, or at least close to it, or are to that point where they're not moving as much anymore. They're not eating or drinking. They're talking very little, sleeping a lot. And then suddenly they'll just like perk up, and it's almost like they're totally better. They might get up and walk around. They're talking to people like you and I are talking right now. And everybody's like, what is going on? And like, they're better. And like, it's a miracle. And I've seen so many people like, this has to be a miracle. And it's not, unfortunately.
Mm.
Like the body's too far gone by those points. And then that can last up to a day sometimes just a few hours. And then they go right back. And usually if they hit that, if that doesn't happen to everybody, but if that does happen, it's usually within 24 to 48 hours that they will pass.
Yeah.
And I have experienced nothing like huge like that, but I had one client who was getting about there and decided, kind of perked up and said, I need to bake cookies. And she demanded to bake she had this one cookie recipe she was known for. She's like, I want to go bake cookies. And she needed help to the kitchen, but her daughters helped her bake a batch of cookies. She went back to bed and she was gone 2 days later.
Wow.
So,
we were just watching a movie. My family and I were just watching a movie last night. And it's so funny you say that, because the girl in the movie was terminal, and she was, it was literally seconds before her, 30 seconds before she took her final breath. But she looked at her husband and said, oh, I'm healed. I'm totally healed. Like it was a cancer thing. And they had prayed and she's like, I am totally healed. And then he ran out to like tell somebody, and then he came back and she was gone. Yeah. And it was, and in my estimation, she was healed, because she was beyond. Now she was, once you're gone, you don't have that sickness anymore, so it was just, but it was an interesting interpretation, right? It's like you're healed, but then you died, so. So
it's a very interesting phenomenon, and we don't fully understand it yet.
Right. So. Oh man, I don't think we ever will, honestly. No. It's so beyond us. It's just, you can only do with what you can do with it, Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, let's see. Let's talk about your podcast, because that's a big deal. And I think people need to know about it. And especially for people that are kind of resonating with this topic, man, this is, and you even told me that you were looking for somebody for a certain topic that you wanted to talk about. So maybe you could, that I think I referred to, I think I sent an email intro to you for somebody like that. But if you did, it was
I don't remember what it was.
Survivor's Guilt.
Oh, Survivor's Guilt. Yeah.
So I remember sending you a 3-way email about that, introducing you to a friend of mine for that. But is there any other? Tell everybody about your podcast and maybe what you're looking for future shows. Maybe they can help you out.
Yeah. So I started my podcast mostly because, like I said, getting to this point and doing the work I do as a death doula, I also do grief coaching as well. So I work with people in bereavement. And I've learned through my own personal journeys with those losses I had mentioned before and some other losses I've had since, a lot about grief. And I talk about grief, I talk about death, I talk about dying. And like you said, these aren't things normal people talk about all the time. And I think I was worried my husband was getting tired of hearing all the things I'm learning about the different types of grief and all. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to talk to a microphone. So, I'm like, why not? Just do it. Everybody else is doing podcasts these days. And like, I loved it though. I love it. It's, if I help one person, my whole goal with it is like, I've experienced a very specific type of loss with my brother and with the friend who died, for an overdose, like, especially things like that, they're very stigmatized, and we don't talk about those things. So somebody else out there has experienced a similar loss, and they're sitting at home going, I'm crazy. I can't believe all these things I'm feeling. None of this is normal. Nobody else has felt this way. So if one person hears that and says, oh my God, somebody else has felt this too, I'm not crazy, then my job is done. I feel fulfilled. So awesome. I set about on a journey to talk about every type of grief I can think of, everything I am finding online. And I started doing interviews. That's where I got into more guest episodes, where I talk to people about their very specific losses. I've had somebody on who lost a stepchild. That's another stigmatized grief we don't talk about because it's not your kid. Right.
But it is.
It was very much her child. She raised that kid. It's anyway.
No, I get it. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I had someone on who their wife, after they divorced, took their son and kidnapped him basically and moved him across the world. And he has not seen his son since. So his son is still alive. But he's not his life. And he's suffering a huge grief with that.
Yeah.
I've had people on with chronic illnesses who are just grieving the loss of their bodily autonomy.
Or
So
their former life that they were more
Yeah.
able to do different things, and now they're not,
Yep.
right? The
Yeah.
grieving of the old normal versus the new normal.
Yeah,
Maybe.
exactly.
Yeah.
Death or grief isn't always just death related. There's like,
Right.
I did a whole episode on, I've rebroadcasted a few times on natural disasters because we've seen a lot of those, like the Hurricane Ian Ian a couple years ago was pretty devastating. My parents lost their winter home down there.
Oh, wow.
People lost their permanent homes. Like there was a lot of devastation with that. And there's a collective grief around that. And there's a grief of the loss of livelihood, the future the everyday you love. Like, anything that is a loss is a grief. So that's why I started that. So I'm always looking for people who have stories they want to share with the world.
Yeah. And you listed off some really good ones, because most people think of grief as my parents died or my grandparents died or my child or whatever.
Right.
Somebody died. Somebody left your life permanently.
Right.
But
Even
it's
divorce.
not always that way.
Divorce is a big grief too.
Oh my gosh, divorce. Even as this has caused so many suicides in this country over the decades. The loss of a long-time job, right? There's a lot of men out there, women too, but for some reason, men, we cling to it more. Your identity becomes what you do sometimes, or it can. And so if you get laid off or you get fired, or even if you just retire after being done, that can send you into a spiral. And that can be grieving.
And you mentioned men too. Men have a much harder time with grief because we have this idea in our culture that men got to buck it up and be the strong one, and they're not allowed to grieve, which is BS, by the way.
It is total nonsense. Yes.
Utter nonsense. Yes. Men are allowed to grieve. Everybody's perfectly allowed to grieve.
Man. And I'm telling you what, those of us and correct me if I'm wrong, from wherever you're watching. And by the way, let us know where you're watching from, because I'm always fascinated where you're watching from. But if anybody's watching and they're like, yes, I was diagnosed with this and it completely altered my life, and now I'm not able to do what I used to be able to do, and it sucks. And you have to grieve that. And that's a different kind of grief altogether, with the invisible or visible conditions, really.
Absolutely.
That limit you to the point that you can't do stuff. So yeah, it's a big deal. Oh my gosh. Well, one, you know what? There's a question that I have that I thought of that I'm going to do it again. I'm going to ask you at the next segment here, because it's an interesting question, and I'm dying to hear the answer because it seems kind of contradictory. So
I will wait.
Okay. All right, bring it on. All right, everybody, stick around. We got a little bit left. Don't go anywhere, and we'll see you soon.
Hey there. Every time someone comes into your business or website and uses their card to pay, a percentage of that gets folded back into the system. But it can go to Hydro with Hope instead. If you'd like your business to support us rather than feed back into the system, scan the QR code and we'll show you how to do that while saving your business money.
Tired of losing cell service in dead zones? Concerned about connectivity in emergencies? There is now an answer. Introducing the Love Pod, the world's first affordable encrypted global internet Wi-Fi hotspot, connects with multiple service carrier networks and is satellite assisted when no service carrier networks are available. So it works virtually anytime, anywhere. Connect up to 9 devices, like our cell phone, laptop, desktop, TV, security cam, and more. Stream, chat, text, download, and make phone calls, all with no roaming fees. With mesh capability, the Love Pods will grow in strength and speed with each new pod activated to create a private terrestrial-based intranet called Love Global Network. The Love Pods are dual blockchain encrypted with Love's proprietary 2048-bit cube chain encryption, giving you the ultimate protection in data privacy and security against digital attacks and hacks to your devices. You are no longer tracked, and your data is never sold. Get the Love Pod, your private, encrypted, portable global internet Wi-Fi hotspot, and stay safe and stay connected.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Russell. I'm the host of TechnologyTuesday.com. You can find us on the Conscious Business TV network every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the latest resources to help you make more money in your business. Join us on E360 TV. Come on.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are here for apparently the last segment of the show. It's that fine.
Went so fast.
I know. It's like, there you go. Don't blink. We'll be done. So I'm curious. I've heard this term before, and I just want to ask you what you think.
Okay.
In your experience, is there such a good thing as a good death? And what is that? What the heck does that even mean? Like what?
Big juicy questions. I love that.
Hey, bring it on.
Yeah. No, and thank you for bringing that up. I love the term good death. There's part of why
everybody thinks it's so negative all the time.
Yeah. No,
right?
Death can be a beautiful experience. I know that seems so counterintuitive to what we've been told, but the term a good death is used a lot. I've heard it a lot. I heard it well before I started doing this, and that there is no one good death. It's gonna, all that really means is like, how do you want your end of life experience to go? Right. Mm-hmm. It's not just like what the room is like and who's with you and how your dying process goes. It's, are you spiritually and emotionally ready? Are you acknowledging and accepting of the fact that you one day will die or are dying at this time? Are you comfortable with it? Do you feel like all of your things have been taken care of and you can leave this world peacefully? So I would love for everybody to have a beautiful experience and to die peacefully and quietly, but that's not always how it's going to go. Especially when it comes to a lot of serious illnesses, the end of life experience can be a little messy, and both figuratively and literally. That doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad death. If they were ready and accepting of this, and they recognize this is the process they're going to go through to get to the other side, then that's a good death for them.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Okay. I like it. That's good stuff. Because when I think of a good death, when I think of that, there's two things. I'm kind of a movie junkie. For those of you that don't know, I love movies, and so there's a couple of movies that pop into my head when I think of good death, and one of them is like all those war movies, right? Like Forrest Gump, right? Is one of those had that war scene, and it was like Gary Sinise is sitting there, and he's like, "No, you should have left me there. I was supposed to die on that battlefield. It was going to be I was going to go out, with that would have been considered a good death for him, his dad was in the military, everybody. And so, and the other one is what is it? Secondhand Lions. There's a spot in there at the very end where the sheriff sees, meets the guy, and he's like, they went out with their boots on, right? Like that was the expression that he used. That's one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. And I don't even know why, because it is some of it is so hokey, but it's so,
I forgot that movie even existed. Thank you for reminding me of that movie.
It brings tears to my eyes every time when I hear parts of that movie. We own it on DVD. We watch it all the time. I love that movie. Even my kids love watching that movie. It's such a good movie. So, but there's that scene at the end, and he's like, he went out with his boots on,
Yeah.
That's what I think of. you know?
I'm glad you brought up movies too, because this is something I have to tell people all the time is Hollywood has done us a bit of a disservice, not just Hollywood, pop culture in general has done us a bit of a disservice on what dying looks like.
Oh my
'Cause
gosh.
we have all these movies where your mom has cancer and she's lying in bed with a beautiful headscarf on and she sighs lovingly and says, "I love you," and closes her eyes and that's it. Like, man, I wish it went like that. And it
No.
can, but
Yeah.
that is very rare.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's end of life, and especially active dying can be very uncomfortable. It can be
Yes.
very difficult to witness. It can be difficult to sit through, and sometimes it can drag on for days and weeks. So another, great thing I can do is to just continue to have that support there for you and give you a break and remind you that it's okay to walk away from your loved one while they're dying.
Yeah.
You
It
know,
is. That's the movie I was talking about earlier with the person that thought they were healed, and then and that kind of thing, and like he left the room to go, like she said, "I'm healed," and then he darted out of the room to go grab somebody, and she died while he was gone, and he was devastated. He was just so angry with himself because he wasn't there when he, like, the last moment,
Yeah, if I
that
could
kind of-
expand on that just briefly, because I hear so much of that when people are like, I sat with mom for 24/7 for 5 days or whatever, and I went to get coffee and she died while I was gone.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. This happens a lot. And this is another one of those, like that terminal lucidity. It's a phenomenon we don't fully understand, but so many people wait until they're alone to die. Whether that's I don't want people to witness this, an unconscious, you know how when somebody's in the room with you, you're always just a little alert. Even if you're not anxious, you're just aware. And when
there's
people leave the room and you're
around.
alone, you have that moment of relaxing because it's just you. So we might just be holding on just enough to stay alive. And then when you're alone, you can kind of relax enough finally. So that's my theory.
It's possible. Yeah.
Well,
but go. Sorry.
I was just going to say, people get so upset about that. And like you said, he was very upset, and, don't ever take that personally. Nobody's doing that to you.
No,
That's just what happens. So you got
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and when my grandpa passed away at 90, like 7 years ago, it was the dementia had taken over at that point, and he really only remembered a couple people. And I was one of them. And so I had a really good, that was probably the best experience. I hate to say it like this, but because it sounds so counterintuitive, but that was probably the best experience I've ever had with somebody in my life that I love dying. Because I knew that I had said everything. I knew that I had spent the time with him. He loved me. I loved him. I knew that he knew me, and and like everything, there was no mystery left. There was no, I didn't get to say this, And so it was a really cool experience to know that he was no longer in pain anymore. I didn't have any. It was sad because I miss him because I saw him all the time.
Sure.
At the same time, I'm glad he's not suffering anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't have that added guilt of, I didn't say this thing.
Yeah.
So,
that's why even if you're young and healthy, tell people you love them all the time, right? Because none of us are guaranteed tomorrow.
Oh my gosh. We talked about that on your show.
We did.
I do that all the time. My kids probably get sick of it, but it's every time they leave the house, every time that, it's like, I love you, by the way, in case you didn't hear it in the last 10 seconds, but then there's no mystery. There's no, right. You don't ever have that second guessing.
You don't have to hold that guilt of, I never told them that, like, there were some things the last few conversations with my brother were not nice ones, and I will never have that back again. So,
Yeah. Sometimes it's that way. Yeah. Yes. Man. Well, is there, so we have about 3 minutes left. We'll say. I know. What would you like to, we're almost out of time. In the last, say, 2 or 3 minutes, what would you like to leave our audience with?
Oh my gosh. That's a big ask in such a short period of time.
You can do it.
Yeah. Look, whatever especially when it comes to grief, whatever you're feeling, whatever you are experiencing, it is okay. And it is valid. And you're allowed to have those feelings. It's what we do with them that matters, right? You are not alone. Your feelings are absolutely valid. And I end every podcast with 3 sentences. Your grief is yours. Your feelings are valid. And grief doesn't always have to suck. And it's true. Grief is a beautiful thing. It's hard. It's painful. It's messy. But it's also a beautiful thing. It is just your love with nowhere to go. So it's okay to grieve.
Oh, that's a cool way of thinking. I'd never heard it put like that before.
If you didn't love whatever it was you lost, you wouldn't grieve it. So
it wouldn't be sad. Yeah.
Yeah. Grief is just love. So grief can be so messy, can be so icky, but it's okay. It's okay to grieve. It's who we are. It's how we're human.
Wow, that's cool. I'm writing that down. That's awesome. Nowhere to go. It's true, because where does it go? It's got nowhere to go.
It goes to other people. Like the love I have for my brother, I can give to my husband's siblings and other people in my life. It's still there. I still have that love, and other people can receive it.
It's true. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Oh, that's so cool. All right. That's going to stick with me on that one. That's a good one. That's a good one. All right. Nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're about here, man. So, thank you so much for being here, though. This has been awesome. Your show is amazing. I'm so glad that you were here to do this one. Just keep up the good work, man.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for having me. I love talking about what I do. I know it sounds weird, but talking about death is very stigmatized. So I don't mind doing it.
Yeah. No, it's important. I'm glad you're doing it. So, yeah. So thank you so much, Nikki.
Absolutely.
All right. Oh, man. Okay. Well, tell you what. Whoops. Nope. That didn't work either. Okay. Well, you know what? It's going to be blurry for a second then. Sorry about that. Welcome to live TV. I don't know what happened with my camera, but it just totally went blurry on me. So here we go. Tell you what, thank you for being here, everybody. This has been awesome. And, I learned something new every single show, and this was no exception. And even if it's a really cool line, like at the end there, that was fantastic. What a wonderful thing. So if you are watching and you know that there's somebody that needs to watch this episode, share it, share it out. Here's all the places to do that. Whoops. That's what I meant to do right there. Or even better, let's do that. All right. So if you know that there's somebody that needs to watch this episode, share it. You can share it very easily on any of those platforms. And so please do share it out. If this is your favorite episode, it's probably somebody else's too. They just don't know it yet. So share it out. And join us for our next show, which will be Friday, July 25th. And at 9 Pacific, noon Eastern. And please go to YouTube and subscribe so that you get the reminders so that when it does go live, you don't miss it. And then you can go anywhere you want and watch it, but you got reminded. So you got to watch the episode. So thank you so much for being here. And we will see you for the next show on the 25th of July. And until then, have an amazing day, and we will see you soon.